If a distressed company has direct or indirect liability with respect to a defined benefit pension plan, it will likely be one of the most significant employee benefits issues in a distressed transaction. This liability could relate to single employer defined benefit pension plans or a multi-employer pension plan covering union employees. And for both single employer and multi-employer plans, this liability could extend to the distressed company's control group members or arise from a control group member's pension plan obligations. If a company has a single employer pension plan, it's subject to strict funding requirements under ERISA and the Internal Revenue Code. If the plan is failing these requirements, excise taxes may apply, as well as increased PBGC premiums. These funding requirements are always applicable to a pension plan, but if termination of the plan is contemplated or foreseeable, funding obligations can accelerate. Further, the plan termination process is neither fast nor easy, whether it's a standard termination initiated by the company or a distress termination imposed by the PBGC. For these and other reasons, it's important to be proactive on the single employer pension plan issues by engaging an actuary for an assessment of the funding obligations on both an ongoing basis and a plan termination basis, and by getting guidance from an ERISA lawyer on measures that may be available to reduce exposure, such as a plan freeze or funding waiver from the PBGC, and the steps needed for a plan termination. If a distressed company is obligated to contribute to a multi-employer pension plan, the distressed transaction may trigger withdrawal liability, or for that matter, the distressed company may have already triggered a withdrawal. Withdrawal liability can result from a partial withdrawal or a complete withdrawal, and represents the company's share of the multi-employer plan's unfunded vested benefits. This is an actuarial determination, and there may be some lag time between an event of withdrawal and the actual assessment of the withdrawal liability. If an event of withdrawal has not yet occurred, both the distressed company and a potential acquirer will want to get a handle on the exposure by obtaining a withdrawal liability estimate from the multi-employer plan. The plan is obligated to provide this estimate. However, it can take time to prepare, and the plan will likely charge a fee. So this is something to address early on. Beyond that, it may be advisable to engage an actuary to review the withdrawal liability calculations and estimates, and ERISA counsel to fully evaluate the exposure. For both single employer pension plans and multi-employer plans, all members of the company's control group have joint and several liability for the funding obligations and withdrawal liability. In general, a company's control group includes trades or businesses under common control. And if there's a funding failure or withdrawal liability, you can count on the PBGC and the multi-employer plans tracking down all of the control group members. In a transaction, even if it doesn't appear the withdrawal liability would follow the assets or ownership of the company, it can still be imposed under ERISA if it's established that a principal purpose of the transaction was to avoid withdrawal liability. Courts have also applied alter ego and successor employer doctrines to attach withdrawal liability, and have found that a private equity fund may, under certain facts and circumstances, constitute a trade or business, thereby forming a control group among its portfolio companies with the resulting joint and several liability.